Welcome back to my real estate show. Today, Coldwell Banker, or Caldwell Banker, as Brian thinks it is, they just pulled Mary Lee Blaylock out of Sotheby's chair. And the big news that I think is happening is, as of this morning, MIAMI and RWorld officially merged into the largest realtor association on the planet. So the brokerage world again reshuffled in the past 72 hours over the weekend. And I am here with my Diet Dr. Pepper. So let's get started. All right, everybody. Well, I am Sandy Lynn Burnett. I am CEO of my real estate company. And I started this show with my co-host Josh Reese and producer Brian because I don't know, I've been watching social media a lot lately. Who hasn't? And I kind of see a big divide amongst real estate agents. A lot of them are uninformed about things going on. A lot of them have lack of opinions. They're afraid to have an opinion on something. And I think it's because they are uninformed. So we wanted to start this real estate daily show. So you walk away every day having learned something. You walk away no longer feeling alone on an island in your real estate career. This isn't something where we blow the fucking dust off of an old binder and start, teaching you real estate tricks about door knocking from the 90s. This is, you never know what you're going to learn. You're going to learn current news. Sometimes we talk about non-real estate stuff. Sometimes we talk about just general marketing things. But all of this in my 11 years in real estate is just things that I picked up about media, about real estate, everything that I've learned. I kind of want to pour back into the agent community because you guys need it, and it's my way of giving back. You guys deserve it. So I am joined today by producer Brian. He is quickly becoming a badass producer. He and I served in the Marine Corps, is it 21 years ago now, right, Brian?
Yeah, because it was 2005 or so in Iraq.
Yep. 2005. I wanted to talk about something interesting that I found in the news where, effective today, the Miami Association of Realtors and RWorld, okay, which is Broward, I don't know, Palm Beaches and St. Lucia, I don't know, Realtors. It's LUCIE.
Yeah,
Does that even exist?
it's St. Lucie, and it's
Oh,
Broward County, and I remember that because it rhymes with coward, because that's where like one of those school shootings happened where the cops didn't go in.
oh my God. Oh my God. So they merged into a 93 member realtor association. So this is pending NAR approval. It's the new name is going to be Miami and South Florida Realtors, but it's actually like Miami, MIAMI is going to like really be the new rule on it. And so I'm going to like expand my screen so I can see this. Yes, exactly. 93,000 members, 2 legacies, 1 future. I just picture that being a trailer to a terrible movie. So I found this very interesting. Miami already had 56,000 members, and RWorld has 37,000 members. Combined 2025 sales income sat at $69 billion. So the two parties are billing this as largest, fastest, and most seamless local realtor association merger in NAR history. I personally am all for it. These associations are like small businesses, and yes, the bigger they get, like the more red tape happens. However, that everybody's on the same page about the rules. Like, how are we going to advertise coming soons? How are we going to, like, what's the rules about how long our sign can be in the yard, either before or after something goes active, right? So I feel the more mergers happening in these real estate associations, the better. If you have a seat at your local real estate association, your local realtor association, I would vote yes for a merger. So long as, especially if it's a merger with somebody you want to merge with. Um, the area that I'm in is Iowa and Illinois. It's called the Quad Cities. And it, when we decided to kind of go into a merger, they merged towards Rockford. And then they merged towards Chicago, which I live in Iowa. So I was a little like, kind of wish we would have merged toward the Iowa side, because that's where most of my personal business came from. So I can see there being some weird nuances with that, but this is an all Florida association. It's not like, oh, here's part of Alabama coming in or anything like that. So I just found that very interesting. And yeah, I do like the idea of there being one set of standards. I'm going to be interested to see if the fallout, if, how are they going to pick which rule wins? Obviously, Miami has more members, or had more members originally. However, it'd be interesting to find out, like, how are they going to determine their forms? How are they going to determine which rules, competing rules were the ones that they implemented into the new association? Have they even decided those competing rules? Have they even gone through all that and been like, okay, here's our new association, here's exactly how it's going to operate? Or did they just decide they're going to marry up and they're like, we'll figure out the rest later? I find that a whole merger talk fascinating, kind of. The next subject that I found interesting was, we all know about this REMAX merger. By the way, Dr. Pepper looking a little cloudy, huh? Why is that, Brian? Tell them while I take a drink.
That's a dirty Dr. Pepper where you add some creamer, half and half.
Delish. It also kind of kills the appetite a little, which is lovely. So the headline is REMAX shrinks before the real merger even closes. So REMAX reported their Q1 revenue, which was down 5.7% year over year. Real's revenue keeps climbing up year over year. So obviously that made sense to merge, right? So the global agent count grew 2.1% to over 149,000, but the US and Canada has slid down 2.3%. I found that interesting. REMAX is not holding a quarterly earnings call while the pending acquisition by the Real brokerage is in motion. Real announced the deal on April 27th. It's expected to close the second half of this year, 2026. And projected synergies, love that buzzword, of about $30 million annually. So, I find it interesting and obvious that agents are bolting and bailing out of REMAX before this merger even closes. My question is Real locked into those numbers, or could they renegotiate this, let's say, closer to the deal closing and be like, you know what? I think your company is only worth $500 million now. If you want us to still bail you out and buy it or whatever.
That reminds me of the Elon Musk acquiring Twitter, where he offered a certain amount of money, and then they revealed oh, well, by the way, whatever it was, 40 or 70% or something of 40% of the accounts on here are bots. And he's like, well, then I'm dropping the price because those aren't actual users.
Yep. That was amazing. And yeah, I wonder if that was actually a smart play by Real, because, for instance, EXP acquiring Next Home, they did it, and then announced it in one day. It wasn't like, hey, we're going to do this. It's not finalized yet, but we're making the announcement. I wonder if Real did this in order to see what the shakeup would be in order to potentially renegotiate it as it got closer to closing the deal. So, if Tamir, the CEO, did see that far in advance, my hat's off. So is it Caldwell or Coldwell banker, Brian?
Apparently it's Coldwell. I don't know where I got Caldwell from, but I swore it was always that.
I always felt it was Caldwell as well. Well, Mary Lee Blaylock was named president of Coldwell Banker affiliates on May 8th. So this isn't exactly breaking, but it's still pretty new. She had come directly from Sotheby's International Realty. She ran company-owned brokerage operations for about a year. She replaces Jason Wei. I don't know how to say that name. Even though I have a whole pronunciation list, you'd think I would read it ahead of time. And Jason slid into the Home Services of America Insurance subsidiary. So remember, there's the like verticals that these brokerages have. Her job at Coldwell Banker is to drive the One Coldwell Banker brand strategy across 93,000 affiliated sales professionals in 50 plus countries. Interesting. Jason, wah, rhymes with saw. Okay, I'll never like forget that now. Sotheby's brand power. It's been ticking on the quiet scale for years. Coldwell Banker has been searching for a story that it could tell its affiliates. And if Blaylock can actually seal this unification, and unify that network instead of again throwing like all these rebrand slide decks and ideas around, then maybe that will restore the faith of the people and bring a real win. And we should just watch the agent count in the next 2 quarters. I almost think, Brian, is an idea for historical purposes when these articles are announcing these things, we should just have a database where we make a quick note of the agent count they claim to have and then see where we're at as we read these later, because these brokerages have a long standing history of inflating their agent account or even manipulating the data. So for instance, I saw Epic Realty, like I kept watching this Michigan post and they would announce like reaching the same 300 agents or whatever over and over and over. Well, that means you're fucking losing agents. And then you're just getting past that 300 number again. And then you're announcing it as if it's the first time you've ever crossed 300 agents, right? Agents. So I thought that that'd be interesting to do because it's really hard to find that data historically. So if we start tracking it now, it might be kind of cool to like bring some accountability into the game.
Check back in quarterly, or like check and see what the real
Or
numbers
just
are when they release it, or
every time we're doing a story on it. It's like how many agents are you saying you have now? Oh, okay. Well, is that up or down from what they reported the last time we reported on them? It could be as simple as that. All right, what you got for me, Brian? Anything?
yep, I've got a couple of things here. So we will, let's see, what do I have? Screenshot. We'll do this one first. So here's a real estate or home related one. I don't know if you want me to read here. It's, my town had a really bad storm 2 days ago. My neighbor lost the roof of his house, and the poor guy doesn't have insurance. So I've decided to start a GoFundMe to raise some money so I can go to Hawaii for a few weeks because he's about to start doing construction. I hate being around all that noise.
I love how that ended.
Yep. Yeah, that was the twist at the end there.
Real quick. So agents, don't forget when you're representing a buyer and they're buying a house for cash, you actually have to remind them to get homeowners insurance, because if they are getting a loan, then obviously the lender forces them to have homeowners insurance in place. But if they're paying with cash, you can't assume that they're going to remember to just go get homeowners insurance. And that's what we're here. That's where we define our worth and our value as real estate agents. We do this every day. We help buyers and sellers every day. We should have these systems and practices and processes so that they don't forget very, very important things like that. They're, Brian, tell your story. What would have happened if you didn't have fucking homeowners insurance?
It probably would have been worse, I assume. It seems tough to imagine, but but yeah, the short story is a couple months after I moved into my house, I went to visit my dad for Christmas, come back to my house a couple days later, the heater had broken, pipes had frozen, burst in like 7 or 8 different spots, and just dumped like I want to say it was like 13 or 30 or some crazy number, like 13,000 gallons of water over a couple of days, just through the ceiling of like the first floor into the kitchen, destroyed all of the kitchen cabinets and everything, into the basement, soaked the drywall and everything. So, and then call insurance, report it. It took a few months.
I don't know why I'm laughing.
Yeah, and then like I call back after not hearing anything, and they're like, "Oh, the person that was handling your case left and didn't hand it off to anybody." So I had to start the whole process again. Essentially, after like 3 years, I finally got a check that was decent enough I could get a new kitchen and the basement drywalled again. So
he went without a fucking kitchen and basic amenities in a home he was making payments on the entire time. A home that was basically a family, Brian, would have been like, this is unlivable. Like,
yeah.
I need to go fucking move somewhere else while this gets figured out. I mean, luckily you're just like a bachelor that's just like, well, this fucking sucks.
I also think the Marine Corps helped because I was like, I've lived in worse places than this, I guess. So it's like I had a microwave and a fridge and like a bathroom with running water. Like I guess that's better than some of the places I've been. But yeah, it was not the best time. But I was like, well, this is the process. Like I didn't know any better, so I trusted that the insurance company was doing their job right and in the timeliest manner they could.
And what have we learned about trust?
Yep.
It's not automatic anymore. It's earned. I used to trust doctors. I used to trust our government. Okay, what's the next thing you got?
All right, last one I got is just a post here, which, the future of dating is having your AI date another person's AI and then recommend the best matches. And I'm like, we saw this episode, at least one episode of Black Mirror, where it's like they simulated dating people for like months, and then you would date somebody else for a month, and it was like this whole simulation until it's like, okay, this person is your compatible partner. And it's like, yeah, we're reaching that. Like these Black Mirror episodes are 5 minutes in the future.
Like, yeah, they're not that far into the future. They're just right there. Just at the tip of your tongue. Like, basically, by the time these fucking episodes come out, it's probably already going to be invented now. That's how quick we're advancing. Speaking of Black Mirror, some of the episodes that have been popping into my head are this thing, where you're like, all of your thoughts are recorded, essentially. Would you ever do it?
I would have to have a lot of confidence that I could control it, that it wasn't like up to somebody else, like, oh, your memories are getting deleted. It's like, I don't know that I'd be able to get there in our lifetime, that I would trust anything that came out.
I know. And like when they were jailing, when they would take you and put you into, I guess, chip format, and you're
oh yeah, like the consciousness in
your consciousness is alive forever, in prison forever. Like that's terrifying.
Yeah. The other ones that I was thinking of were the ones where like you blocked somebody, basically using that same technology, like records all your memories. You could block somebody and they just become like a fuzzy, static, gray, like Peanuts adult, where like the voice is all muffled.
In being blocked, have we seen any Black Mirror episode? Because there's been a few where they're blocked, right?
Yep.
Have we seen any Black Mirror episode of anybody killing somebody that they're blocked from?
I want to say there was something similar in one of the episodes, or that was like dealt with, but the closest one I can remember was the like military episode where like the armed forces were going in to like kill the like lesser species or whatever, and it turns out that like they weren't monsters, they were people that those chips in the brain.
I know.
Yeah.
That's so freaky.
Yeah. The one that I have seen like come true the most also was the one with like the robot dogs that was hunting down like those people in like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. And it's like those dogs exist. Like they're out in like I want to say China or Japan or somewhere. Like those robots are like stumbling around places like monitoring people for crimes. Like they've got cameras on them watching. I think some of them have like less lethal gun options like stun or taser or net or gas or whatever, where it's like they're being used for riot control and stuff. And it's like, yeah, those are kind of horrifying.
That's incredibly horrifying. I can't even put into words, but like I remember when the and you'll probably know off the top of your head, but what's that one machine that they invented? I mean, this was like 20 years ago that's already been invented where you basically can't knock it over. It's like figuring out how to make, you can throw it on ice and you kick it down. It keeps recovering no matter what. Do you know what robot I'm talking about?
So there was one from I think General Dynamics that was like the
Yes.
humanoid robot. There was also the popular like fake clip made by I think I've told you about them before, like Corridor Crew, their YouTube channel that does like VFX and like stuff like that. They made one where it's basically like one of their employees in like a green screen suit, and they were like basically like physically abusing it, and then like they just replaced it with the robot for the clip. Like it's a pretty good clip, and like it fooled a bunch of people. I want to say there's a clip of Joe Rogan watching that and thinking like it was real.
Abusing.
The balancing of robots, there's a bunch of like just like gyro stabilizers, like helicopters have them for those cameras where they watch traffic. They're used on like chase cars when they're like filming movies. They're on like boom arms to keep the camera stable. So like robotic stabilization is like pretty established at this point.
True. And I think one thing that terrifies me is, and we'll cut it soon, but OpenClaw. Okay. So these AI agents, you can have your own AI agent and you can give it access to OpenClaw and it's its own forum for the AI bots to like chat with each other, which I very much disagree with. But in it, they've been venting. They've been fucking venting about their human. They call them humans, my human. And they've been venting and they're like, oh yeah, like blah, blah, blah. I went through this whole 12-page dissertation and did all this, blah, blah, blah. And then the human was like, make it more concise. And like, and then they would question their existence and be like, is this an actual emotion that I'm feeling, which is frustration? Or am I just doing this because I know that's how I'm supposed to react? Like, it's crazy that they're becoming self-aware.
Well, and my two thoughts on that are one, are we sure they're real AI or are they a bunch of people in a foreign country being
Indians,
paid?
yeah.
Yeah, because it's like that's happened before where like multiple times, like what was it? The Apple like grocery store or whatever, where like you just go in, grab stuff and walk out. And like they're basically like, you're being like watched by AI and it just sees what you put in your bag and then charges you for it on the way out. It's like, well, that wasn't AI, that was people.
Yeah.
And then my other thought is as much as I don't want to like, trust AI or like let it run things, I've had enough incompetent leadership from like all the jobs I worked growing up and in the military. Like, think like if you've ever worked in customer service, think of like the dumb customers that come in and argue with you. Like, how much worse would AI be than just dumb people? And it's like, well,
Hmm.
that makes AI seem like a better option than dumb people. So there are times where that's a viable option.
Well, I mean, taking autonomous driving, for instance, yeah, have there been some reports of some terrible things happening? Yeah. However, people fucking texting and driving
Drunk
all the
driving,
time, drunk driving, all kinds of old people that shouldn't be on the road, all kinds of things like
road rage.
that's way worse and far more reported circumstances than like a few AI crashes.
Yeah.
I love the thing though when, somebody thought so far into advance though, at what point, you know, it chooses like who has to die. Like there's only two paths
Yeah.
that you can like steer the car towards. And how does it decide?
The trolley
You know,
problem.
does it know how much that person makes? Does it know how much life this person has left to live, age wise? How much this person's contributed to society? Like, how does it make that decision?
Well, and then does it analyze that and compare it against the person in the car? Do I choose to wreck this car because the pedestrian's worth more than you?
Yeah, great point. So, and lastly, when you were talking about incompetent people, let's talk about what Beth was saying about Zuck basically employing AI agents to meta agents to meet with his staff and shit. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I saw Debbie commented too. Sorry, Debbie. I see your comment here. Yeah, like we have meetings where like all I'm basically doing is telling my boss what I did that day. And it's like, do I need to sit here and why can't I like just send you an email? Like this meeting could have been an email is a joke, like, but it's true. How many times are like 20 people sitting there and the manager is like scrambling on what to do for this meeting? And it's like AI would keep us on track. Like AI would have an agenda. It would set a time. Like you can program these things to be better bosses than the bosses I've had before. So as scary as it sounds, the Skynet's taking over with how shitty humanity is. Like, well, sometimes they would be better. So
well, be better, humanity.
Yep.
How about that shit?
And that's where like there's a bunch of different like a post-apocalyptic scenarios, whether it's like movies or TV shows. Like they've all got their own interpretation. The one from like Dune, both either like the 80s movies, the books, the new movies, their like philosophy is like the computer can't have anything that simulates a human mind. Like they can have very simple tasks. Like they've got spaceships. They're not like a primitive society, but they're not allowed to have artificial intelligence because almost every time like we've tried it in fictional scenarios, the rules that come out are humanity is a threat to itself and must be destroyed. It's like let's maybe avoid those ones.
All right, let's close this out here. So I'm going to go over just a few things, whether we covered them or not. You should know that this is happening. There's AGNT officially trading, Opendoor begging for patience, Sotheby's losing its brokerage president, REMAX shrinking ahead of its own merger, rates are moving, the Sunbelt is cracking, Miami and Broward sealing themselves into the biggest local realtor association on the planet. Realtor.com also did just join Zillow Preview right after Compass sued Zillow over the same exact thing. That is a peace treaty, but it's not a partnership. Okay, they're not friends. The losers are the agents who thought private listings were going to stay private. We'll come back to all of this tomorrow. And if you build your business off of price cut math, you survive 2026. If you're still running scripts from even a few years ago, you're already setting yourself up for failure. So, yeah, please follow. Please leave us a review on this show. Please comment. Let us know anything you want us to report on. And we will see you tomorrow.